Do, re, mi, fa, so, fa, mi, re, do. Bartók, Mikrokosmos I. That's the first melody, or the first piece, you could say, in the Mikrokosmos series. Um, so for those who are uninitiated, this is a series of piano pieces which Bartók wrote for his son, to basically just teach him how music works, and at the piano specifically. Um, they're organized in 6 volumes, I believe, and they increase in difficulty, not just from volume to volume, but also within each volume, the pieces get more and more complicated. And these were like a little obsession of his. Um, the titles refer to miniatures, obviously. And I first encountered them in piano lessons. I think my teacher had me looking at Mikrokosmos 3 for whatever reason. I guess that's where my playing was at. But also in my composition lessons, I had one teacher say that he used to learn how to dictate music through the Mikrokosmos. So I think that's probably also a pedagogical use that they've had, is ear training, basically. We have a number of other Bartók pieces on the channel, um, most notably his string quartets from almost a year ago, actually more than a year ago, probably. So I covered some of his string quartets. Also, we've done some George Crumb pieces, his Macrocosmos 1 and 2, which are influenced by Mikrokosmos. And the composer says that directly in the program note. Another, like the pieces we looked at yesterday, the 12 American Preludes by Hinastera, I would argue are also influenced by Mikrokosmos. So it's kind of funny that I just did that piece and now we are getting into the PDFs of Mikrokosmos that I have on my laptop. I think it's kind of funny. Yeah, they consist of 153 pieces. The latest ones were written in 1939. He started the project more than 10 years earlier, and the publication date of all of them is 1940. He arranged 7 of the pieces for 2 pianos to provide additional repertoire for himself and his wife. Uh, Tibor Surly transcribed 6 of the pieces for piano and string orchestra. Um, Huguette Dreyfus recorded selected pieces from 3 to 6 on harpsichord. So they're not necessarily instrument specific, although, I mean, they are progressive piano pieces, basically. I guess the way that it's organized is like volumes 1 and 2 are beginner, volumes 3 and 4 are moderate to advanced, and then volumes 5 and 6 are like professional level pieces. So in terms of which pieces get performed the most, it's obviously the ones from volumes 5 and 6. And I guess the most complicated ones would be the 6 dances in Bulgarian rhythm. I don't know if those are the most performed, but they're the last ones in volume 6. If we look at the ones in volume 1, which is what we're looking at today, you have unison melodies. Then we have one called dotted notes, the 7th piece. The 8th piece is called repetition. The 9th piece is called syncopation. Then we have with alternate hands, with parallel motion, we have one simply called reflection, change of position, question and answer, village song, parallel motion with change of position, contrary motion. We get 4 other unison melodies, then some imitation and counterpoint, imitation and inversion, a piece called pastoral, more imitation stuff, repetition, syncopation, canon at the octave, imitation reflected, canon at the lower fifth, dance in canon form, Dorian mode, slow dance, Phrygian mode, chorale, and then the last one's called free canon. So there's a lot in there. you can see here on page 1, we start with the unison melodies. They are actually in octaves, if you think about it. Um, but yeah, the first one has 3 parts. I only sang you the first part. They're each 20 seconds long. Then we have ones that range from, uh, yeah, like 20 to 30 seconds long. Here we have alternating hands, right? So that's a new skill. Yeah, we have moving in contrary motion here, number 17. And the most complicated ones in volume 1 are upwards of a minute long, right? So this one, for example, the last one is a free canon, and it's 42 seconds long. One before it is the chorale. It's still just 2 voices though. And I think before every piece he shows you all the notes that are used. So you have this little diagram. So this is where your 2 hands are going to be placed on the keyboard. You don't have to think about shifting them or anything. It's just like left hand spans G to D and there's a C sharp in it. Right hand spans G to D and there's a C natural in. Now the question is with this listen, is this actually something worth listening to and performing in a recital context? I'll sort of weigh in on my thoughts on that. There is a recording like of all of them, so people have recorded them as like proper pieces, and it takes 22 minutes to play through all of them. The volumes 1 and 2 are dedicated to his son Peter specifically, and this performance of pieces 1 through 36 are by Claude Helfer. Maybe I can find some information on Bartók's son. Yeah, Bartók's son Peter was a recording engineer, mastering specialist, and record label founder, with a lifelong commitment to preserving and disseminating the music of his father. He was born in Budapest in 1924, before I guess he would have immigrated to the US much later, yeah, 1942, to reunite with his parents, who had settled in New York. And then, as he was a Hungarian citizen during World War II, when Hungary was fascist, so he was classified as an enemy subject, which complicated his entry into the US. And yeah, he arrived in the US at age 17. Upon joining his family in New York, Peter settled into life in the city during a period of wartime austerity and concern for events in Europe, right? So this is 1942. It's there's still 3 more years of the war. Um, His arrival preceded the serious decline in his father's health due to leukemia. I think I've mentioned this before on the channel, but yeah, Bartók died of leukemia, and it was at the time very difficult to diagnose, so he had really no idea what was going on. We understand leukemia a lot more now after the Hiroshima bombings, but this was something that Bartók was suffering from like uh, in the 40s. Bartók died in 1945. So this is kind of interesting historical context because you think like his son was born in 24. 2 years later, Bartók started writing these pieces, right? So clearly they're for his son to have growing up. But then Bartók moves to the US and his son is left to fend for himself. And Bartók doesn't even finish these pieces until his son is like 15. Um, so very, very weird. And then Bartók dies 5 years later. So, uh, yeah, I guess they sort of just became an obsession of the composer, right? They're clearly, the project clearly grew out of control and got way too big because it took him so long to do. Also, his health was never good. Bartók's health was in periods of decline throughout his life, so he did write sporadically, so that might explain the how long it took. But okay, well, I'm gonna have a listen to this. For a long time, I've been like thinking of maybe programming them if I ever had to like whip together a concert or something. So I'll actually put that idea to the test today and see if I think it works. Recording is in the video description. I'll see you in 20 minutes. Okay, yeah, these are interesting. The first unison melodies take up about like 4 minutes, 4.5 minutes. So it's quite a slow start. I think like if this was live, it would be a very interesting sort of experiment for the first little while. Um, but as things pick up, the pieces start to get really good. I think like 31 is probably my favorite of the 36 pieces, and everything from 31 onward is really good. And you can really start to hear the sound of Bartók's unique voice in those pieces. Um, but I think as early as piece 18, I was starting to get into it. Yeah, I was surprised. Pretty early on, he asks the pianist to change hand positions midway, like within a piece. So I think it's good that he starts to do that. I remember, I think it wasn't until like grade 4 piano where I started when I was asked to change hand positions. So I think a lot of piano methods are really flawed, and yeah, I think these are really good pedagogical pieces. Um, I think people don't really know about them and don't really play them because of Bartók's reputation as like a more modernist, challenging composer. And because a lot of the harmonies and dissonances in this are like incorrect, you could say. They're not like classical. They're more influenced by his understanding of like folk cultures in Hungary. So you do get weird like dissonances. A lot of the cadences are not your traditional like yeah, I don't think I heard a single like tonal sounding cadence in this whole selection. So instead of like, the leading tone going up to one and then the second scale degree going down to one, he usually does some weird jump to an open fifth or a unison. Yeah, this one it's like a normal sixth going, no, it's a normal like third going down to a octave, but there's no raised leading tone, so it's like a flat thing, kind of modal. This one, so if you look at 35, the cadence at the end is like the top voice is leaping down to scale degree 1, and the bottom voice is stepping down to scale degree 1. So that's really not classical at all. This one, the top voice lands on scale degree 5, and then the bottom voice climbs down to scale degree, like it leaps down to scale degree 1 from scale degree 4. So that's, you know, like he's cadencing. In all these pieces, he's cadencing, but it's not normal. This one, you do get your traditional cadence, I think, but it's a sixth going down to a fifth. It's not a, it's not what you would call a perfect authentic cadence. His voice leading is impeccable, but he doesn't really care about uh, conventions of like traditional conventions of tonal music, and I don't think he cares if his son knows about that stuff either. I think he just sees that as like a cultural trope and not really the meat and potatoes of what music is and it's made out of. And I think his sensibilities make a lot of sense, especially if you're familiar with Bartók's music. Formally, all of these are really interesting too. You have a lot that are in either 2 or 4 phrases. And even just looking at the first melody, it's like a totally complete idea. I think that's what he was kind of aiming for. Was each piece would have a form that is immediately recognizable and memorizable, so that it's easy to memorize all of these pieces and internalize them and stuff. Tomorrow I'm going to look at Mikrokosmos III. I do have a PDF of it here, a scan of the whole thing, I think. And it's not a very good scan, so I'll just bring the physical one and do a phone video tomorrow. And we'll get into some of my more favorite pieces from the Mikrokosmos series.